A very good morning, class 10 students. I welcome you all on this online platform provided by Jagriti Classes. Today we are going to study chapter 16 of class 10, that is Management of Natural Resources. So we are going to study what do you mean by natural resources, and then what are the steps you can take, how you can manage the resources, because as we all know, in this era or in this period, the natural resources are getting destroyed day by day. That is, their amount is decreasing. And we do also hereby listen different problems due to this depletion in the resources. That is, you have heard that resources are getting polluted, which we have already done in our last chapter, chapter 15, our environment. Then you have also read in your previous junior classes in 9th, 8th, 7th, these chapters are very basic chapters which include what do you mean by the term resources, and then we have to move on that why these resources are getting depleted, okay? Because we the humans are utilizing these resources at a very extreme or at a very large scale. Because we are not fulfilling our needs, we are actually on the scale of fulfilling our desires. So there is a great difference between these two words, need and desires. We should use these resources very judiciously so that our needs get fulfilled, and also it should be used in a sustainable manner. Firstly, I said that your needs should be fulfilled. That is, the basic necessities which are required for living a good life should be fulfilled, and then you should not aim for completion of your desires concerning natural resources, okay? You should aim in your life to complete your desires, but here if we are dealing with natural resources, because these are a type, because many of the resources are inexhaustible. Inexhaustible means what? Inexhaustible means they get depleted, and if you use them at this increasing rate, then they would get finished or depleted, okay? So now, after a brief general discussion on natural resources and their management, now let's start our chapter actually. So the chapter is Management of Natural Resources. So how do we manage our natural resources or all the important things which are present? So before this, you should know what do you mean by the term natural resource. So we are basically defining what do you mean by the term resource, and then we'll move on to define this natural resource. So resource is any useful thing or anything which is of our use. So resource means any substance which is of use to our environment, or not to the environment, to us. You can write which is of use for us, or anything which we can utilize and we can fulfill our needs is termed as resource. So resource is, in short, any useful thing which is used by humans or animals, you can say, and they fulfill their needs, okay? So these kind of materials, these materials are termed as resource. Now what do you mean by natural resource? Natural means, broadly if speaking about resource, you can classify resource into two parts. The first one would be natural, and the next would be man-made resource. So you have two categories of resource, natural resource and man-made resource. Now man-made are what? These are also called synthetic resources or artificial resources. Natural, any useful thing which you are getting directly from the nature itself, okay? These are in the category of natural resource. Man-made, the raw materials which you get from nature, they are not directly used. For example, if I talk about cotton, okay, so man-made resource, for an example, would be a cloth, a cotton cloth. Because cloth, you do not get it directly. Okay, we have to buy clothes from the shops and malls. So this cloth, we are not getting directly from the plant or from the nature itself. And what we get is, for man-made resources, we get the raw materials required to make these man-made resources from the nature. That is, from the nature you get cotton, and using this cotton, when we process this cotton out, then we obtain a cloth made up of cotton. Okay, so is this clear? What do you say? And natural resource, here in this chapter we are concerned only with the natural resources. So natural resources are the useful things which are obtained directly from nature itself. For example, you can call them to be the abiotic and biotic resources, okay? And getting from nature, biotic are the plants. Plants are also a natural resource, and then the others would be land, soil, air, water, etc. So now we have to study about natural resources. So natural resources include air, then you have water, soil, land, etc. These all constitute the natural resources. Now we are moving on that why do we need to manage? What is causing the depletion of these natural resources, so that we have to find a way out to manage these resources. So firstly, you have been given an example about the Ganga Action Plan, okay? And you have been also provided with a graph. This graph shows you where you have the maximum and minimum levels of pollution. So starting with the graphs, okay. So our first topic would be Ganga Action Plan. What is Ganga Action Plan? Why it was started? So Ganga Action Plan is actually a multi-crores project. Okay, it was started by Government of India, and it is a very huge project. Now why it was started? Before this, if you see the path of Ganga River, then you will find that this Ganga River, it originates here from the Gangotri Glacier, and then it flows through various states, or like from Uttar Pradesh, and then from the various cities, it covers very high places while flowing. Okay? As you can see, now I hope the path is clearly visible. So this Ganga River, because, before it drains into the Bay of Bengal, it passes through many different places. And when this passes through many different places, as you can see, then it becomes highly polluted. See, numerous hydel projects and decreased. The first cause is due to the construction of various hydel projects. Hydel projects are the projects related to rivers. The next is decreased environmental flow. These hydel projects, they cause environmental flow to decrease, because at various process, if you, for example, if you are building a dam, then what these dams do, they stop the flow of water, or they stop the amount, okay, they lessen or decrease the amount of river which was originally flowing. Then you have growing cities is one another cause which causes pollution, because when the cities expand, then the industries also develop, and more the number of industries, what these industries and factories do, they drain all their waste directly into the river, and this pollutes our river Ganga. Then due to very high pollution levels, okay, it has been shown by a red mark where the Ganga is highly polluted. So you can here see, and the next is, due to growing pollution, assimilative capacity decreases. Assimilative means, you know, water is a universal solvent. It has capacity to dissolve as much solute, okay? But if pollutants would be dissolved in our river Ganga, then its assimilation, that is accumulation power or dissolving power, decreases. And now this Ganga cannot, what is the function of river? River carries minerals from its origin site to the different places. But if pollutants are getting dissolved in these rivers, then this river cannot carry as much minerals from the place, because it has a limited carrying capacity. And if you are adding pollutants, then this would not carry away the minerals in it. So this polluted our river Ganga, and it is considered as a very sacred and holy river. The other causes of pollution is what? Ganga is getting polluted, if we write, because the unburnt ashes, you know, okay, due to religious practices, the unburnt ashes and even the dead bodies of humans and animals are being poured into the river directly. Then again, due to the religious practices also, daily a huge amount of solute or undissolved solute which cannot get dissolved in water, which cause pollution due to many religious practices and other regions. It is being getting depleted. The quality of Ganga is getting depleted day by day. So to improve the quality of Ganga, what was done is a multi-crore project in 1985 was launched by, it was launched by Government of India, and it is termed as Ganga Action Plan. So Ganga Action Plan was launched in 1985 by Government of India. It is a multi-crore project, and under this it was said that now you cannot add any kind of pollutants, the industries cannot add any kind of pollutants to river Ganga, or else they'll be fined or punished. And then what has been done is, it is being done to clean our river Ganga fully. And after 2020, this river and all the other rivers of nature have also been cleaned to a very great extent. We all know this. So then you are being given a graph, and you should know that coliform bacteria are the colony of bacteria which develop in polluted water. So the indication of pollution in Ganga is by coliform bacteria. So this is what we have as our Ganga Action Plan. So this is what, now in this chapter we will do the important topics which you should know. So the question may come from Ganga Action Plan. I hope this is clear. Now the next terms are reduce, reuse and recycle. So these are the 3 steps which you can take for managing your natural resources. The first one is reduce. What does the term reduce means? Reduce waste by choosing items with less packaging and items you can use more than once. So we should reduce our desires. I'm not saying needs are the basic requirements required for living a sustainable life. But desires are what? Desires can be reduced. For example, it has been given that reduce means to decrease the amount of waste by choosing the items with less packaging. Because more and more you have the items packed in plastics, more you are creating a waste for the environment itself. So this means to reduce the amount of waste or the amount of waste generated by ourselves. Then the second term is reuse. Reuse means using the things for a longer time. This is not if any item or if any commodity, it is not getting destroyed. So we should not exchange it or change it, until and unless it is serving its purpose. For example, you can take a very clear example. If you buy a pen, the pen is made up of plastic sort of material. So if you are buying a pen and when it gets over, what we do is we throw that pen out and then buy a new pen. So instead of throwing the pen, what you can do is you can reuse the pen, you can put a new refill in the pen. So this would be a better option, reusing things. So reuse waste by sending old clothes to charity. Fixing things, fixing means repairing things instead of buying new ones, and composting. So these are some of the ways by which you can reuse your things. And I know we Indians are very good in reusing things, We use the things to a much greater extent, and it is good for the environment also. The third one is recycling. Recycling converts used materials into new products and reduces the need to use natural resources. Recycle means, recycled notebooks comes which have a darker paper, darker shade paper, we can use them as rough notebooks. So what it is made up of, all the paper waste, it is converted and then a recycled notebook is being made. So you can use such products in your day-to-day life, and you can promote recycling things. So I hope this reduce, reuse and recycle terms are very clear to you. These are very basic terms. In this chapter you have all the basic terms included only. So these are the 3 R's. Reduce, reuse and recycle. Then you can read it from the book itself also. It is very easy. Then the question is, why do we need to manage our resources? So now a question comes in our mind that why do we need to manage our resources? So for this question, you can write it in 2 to 3 points, because firstly we say that many resources are exhaustible. Many resources are exhaustible in nature. Exhaustible means what? Exhaustible means these are present in a limited amount, in a limited quantity, and for their generation, regeneration or production, millions of years are required. Such resources are called exhaustible resources, which are present. So we know that all the resources, they are present in a limited amount and they will take millions of years to get replenished. So we should use them very judicially. So because these resources are exhaustible, so you can write these are present in limited amount and they take millions of years to get regenerated. Millions of years are required for regeneration. Okay, so because of these two reasons, you need to manage resource. Then you can say that for sustainable development means what? Because the resources are present in a limited amount, and if we use them all up, then our future generation might not get these resources for their use. So in turn, why do we need to manage our resources? So that the future generation also gets availability of these resources, And you can write many such other points, okay? So these are the reasons. Now you can write them in points. Why do we need to manage the resources? This all is known as, that is, to make the resources available for the future. This is called sustainable development. Sustainable development or sustainable use. Then the next is forest and wildlife. In forest and wildlife, you all know what do you mean by forest, what do you mean by wildlife. And then you should know why forests are important. So we know forests are very important. We can even write 100 to 1000 points on the importance of forest. Okay, I know all of you can. And then what is wildlife and why wildlife is important? So this all wildlife is dependent on the forest, because forest serves as the natural habitat for wildlife. Then you should know that wildlife is also important to us, because all the living components of the ecosystem, when they are present in a balanced amount, then the ecosystem functions properly. But if any one of the component, for example, if we say forest means plants. If the plants die, then all the balance of the ecosystem would be disturbed. Okay, and if plants are there, we humans are there. If the animals, that is wildlife, die, then also the ecosystem would not remain in a balanced condition. Okay, so every component, that is forest, wildlife, humans, everything is important at its place. And then you have been given, what do you mean by the term stakeholders? So this is important. So we'll be doing the meaning of stakeholders. Okay, so let's do it on a new slide. We'll be starting, what do you mean by the term stakeholders? So stakeholders, you can classify these into 3 to 4 categories, okay? Stakeholders means the local people which reside or which live near the forest. Then the second is, stakeholders are the Forest Development Committee. Forest Development Department is also known as stakeholders. Then the third one, you can say the wildlife enthusiast. And then the fourth is industries and factories. So all these are included under the heading stakeholders. Now what are stakeholders? If you try to define this term in a general meaning, then all the people or all the community which are related to the forest, all these are called stakeholders. So stakeholders are the group of people, or you can say instead of group of people, you can write it is a community which is dependent on, which is directly dependent, okay, which is directly dependent on forest. Such community are called stakeholders. So we have 4 categories. The first one are local people. So the local people, generally the tribal people which live around the forest, these are directly dependent on the forest for their own survival, and they are also responsible, they can take very good care of the forest, okay. Previously, before the Britishers arrived in India, all the forest was in the hands of local people. Even all the resources also were in the hands of local people. So what these local people did is, they had much cooperation between them. That is, for example, consider a forest which is present near 2 to 3 villages, or near the forest 2 to 3 villages are present. So what they do is, they mutually divide the forest, okay, with their concerns. They divide the forest into different parts, and then from the given part, villagers belonging to a particular village, they can use the products, and they are also responsible for taking care of that part. So what is done? Both are benefited here. The villagers, they are getting the products, the forest products for their survival, so they are in benefit. And the next is what? Next thing is the animals which the villagers have, that is cattle and cows, they have grazing land as the forest. The third important thing is, these local people, they are very much, they take very care of the forest, nearby forest. So in turn, they are using the forest, and then they are also taking care of that region of the forest. Okay, so the forest is also benefited, and the local people are also benefited. Then comes the Forest Development Department. So these are the administrative blocks or the government department which takes care of all the forests which are present under its boundary or under its area, okay. So these people, okay, they make new rules, they take the care of forest, they try their level best, but some of the officers, okay, they might sell the forest, or they might illegally, they might take the wood and all for their money profits. So mostly the local people, these are highly good as stakeholders to take care of the forests nearby them. Then comes the Forest Development Department. I told you, these are the wildlife enthusiasts, you can call them to be the NGOs. Okay, so NGO or wildlife enthusiast, or you can say forest enthusiast, these are the non-governmental organization, these are the NGOs. They, without thinking of their own profit, they take care of all the wildlife and all the forests which they know or which are present in their nearby areas. So these are again very important because they do not consider their own profit. They are just considering how the nature can be sustainably managed. Then next comes the industries. So industries are our threat to the forest, we can say, because industries, what they do is, they do many extreme level cutting of the trees. They use high amount of trees and all the forest products. So in turn, they are destroying the forest, the natural scenic beauty of the forest. And these are even destroying, if the forests are getting destroyed, then the wildlife is also getting destroyed. So I hope the term stakeholders is clear to you. Now the next in your book is given. Okay, so in the next sections, we have that the local people, they should be involved in the forest. So first comes the sustainable forest management. So sustainable, I told you, that is using the resources in a proper way and making the resources available for the upcoming future generation. So for sustainable forest management, what we should know is, the first one is extent of forest resources. That is, how much larger forest do we have? Then the next one is forest biological diversity. That is the different kinds of birds and animals which are having a natural habitat in the forest concerned. The third one is forest health and vitality. you should know that is the forest around you growing very well? Are the plants healthy, or any plant is suffering from a disease or not? Okay, this is very important. Then the next one is protective functions of forest resource. So protective functions of forest resource means what? That this forest, it is providing a protection. Yes, forest can also provide a protection. Imagine, okay, imagine how these forests are responsible for providing protection. Then next is productive functions of forest resources. Productive means what kind of different crops or what kind of different resources are we getting from the forest. Then comes the socio-economic functions of the forest, that is, in social functions, that is, in many terms, forests are also like the habitats for plants, but these are also the habitats for the people, the tribal people living near the forest. And these forests, these are also a land where people, these tribal people, they celebrate different festivals, and forest is very much linked to their historical culture. And economic function means how the forest is helping in their income, how this forest is serving as an income source. So you see tribal people, what they do is they take the wood and all, okay, or they can pluck, take the flowers, or they can take the fruits, and then they can sell them in the nearby villages, and then they can earn their livelihood. The next one is legal policy and institutional framework, which is again all under the forest department. So these are the ways, or these are the factors, parameters which should be considered when we are talking about sustainable forest management. When you are keeping all the factors in mind, then only you can manage perfectly or sustainably any given forest. So the next one after this is, okay, these are for water, and yes, this is an example of people's participation in management of forest. So what it has written, see, in 1972, the West Bengal Forest Department recognized its failures in receiving the degraded Sal forest in the southwestern districts of the state. Traditional methods of surveillance and policing had led to complete alienation of the people from administration. What it is written is, in 1972, we are considering the state of West Bengal. In West Bengal, earlier there was Sal forest, okay? West Bengal has Sal trees, that is Sal forest. And what happened is, 1972, when the West Bengal Forest Department, it made certain strict rules. That is, now no local people can enter the forest. They cannot use the forest substances or materials. So this kind of rule was made by West Bengal Forest Department. But after making such strict rules and policies, that is about the complete alienation of people from the administration, this means that now the people were restricted to even enter the forest itself. And the government said, now this forest is under our official department, our administration, and the people would not be allowed to enter them. But these rules, they failed. So resulting in frequent clashes between forest officials and villagers. Because these villagers, why they were revolting against these rules, these villagers, no doubt, they are using the forest for their profit. But in turn, these villagers are also giving the care to the forest which it requires. So everything was going very well before these rules were made. And after the making of these rules, the Sal forest, they were degrading day by day. Okay? Because it was under the control of government. The government or the forest department is very huge. It has many other works. So the local people, they can manage the nearby forest very well compared to the officials which are sitting very far away and they are just making the rules, theoretical rules. Okay, these are very different aspects. So as a result, the local people clashed with the government officials and the forest officials. So there were frequent fights and clashes between the forest officials and the villagers. Forest and land related conflicts in the region were also a major factor in fueling the militant peasant movement led by Naxalites. And therefore, Naxalites, they entered these clashes, and what they did is, they made group of peasants and they named it as militant peasant movement. That is a revolt against the government. Now what happened is, accordingly, the department changed its strategy. That is, the forest department now modified its rules, made new rules, making a beginning in the Arabri forest range of Midnapore district. So you have to remember that which forest range of Midnapore district, okay, was modified for the rules. Here, at the instance of a far-seeing forest officer, A.K. Banerjee was the forest officer. Villagers were involved in the protection of 1,272 hectares of badly degraded sal forest. So A.K. Banerjee, he was a forest department officer. What he did is, he involved villagers to take care, working with the officers of the forest department for conserving 1,272 hectares of sal forest land. In which district? In the Midnapore district. And the forest was Arabri forest. In return, when the villagers were working with the officers, because these local people, they have far better knowledge how the trees can be conserved, okay? So they were working with the officials. In return, for help in protection, villagers were given employment in both silviculture and harvesting operations. So they were getting profit, the villagers were getting profit in return, they were getting employment and jobs. 25% of the final harvest was given to the villagers and allowed fuel wood and fodder collection on payment of a nominal fee. And then they can pay a very nominal charge and they can collect fuel wood, that is wood required for making food and all, and then they could collect fodder for their animals from the forest. So in turn, A.K. Banerjee was the forest officer who worked with the villagers, and what they did is, in turn, the villagers were also getting employment, they were getting fuel wood, fodder, etc. And these forest officers, they were getting the knowledge that how these villagers, they protect the forest. What are the traditional methods or the traditional ways which the villagers adopt to protect the forest? With the active and willing participation of local community, the sal forest of Arabri underwent a remarkable recovery. By 1983, a previously worthless forest was valued 12.5 crores. So this forest, Arabri forest of Midnapore district, it was worthless and it was degrading day by day. But with the cooperation of villagers and forest officials, this forest showed a remarkable recovery and now its value was 12.5 crores. So in turn, we say that the villagers, if the villagers, the local people and the forest officials, they work hand in hand, that is, if they work with cooperation, then our forest resources can be conserved. Okay, so this is for today's class. Now you also have one more example for people's participation in management of forest, that was of Chipko Andolan. So after doing Chipko movement of Chipko or Chipko Andolan, we'll be doing water for all, dams, water harvesting, coal and petroleum, okay? And then an overview of natural resource of management. So this would complete your chapter. Till then, please keep studying. This is a very interesting chapter and a very easy chapter also. In one reading, in 1 to 2 videos, we'll complete this. So I'll require just one class to complete this chapter now. Okay, till then, stay home, stay safe, keep studying, and I know no one would have any kind of doubt in this chapter. So read this chapter, read your all other chapters too, and perform very well in your examinations. All the best, students. Till then, keep studying, okay, and keep following us. Thank you.